everybody. Oh, yeah, hey. I forgot to change the camera. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Brian's Basement. I'm Brian, and this is my basement. And tonight we have a very special guest. But before we get to that, I'm going to play a little song for y'all. This song is it's a new one, and it's a song about building people up instead of tearing down. I don't see myself as a really much of a builder up type of person right now, but it's something I really want to be. And that's part of the reason why I write songs, is to remind me of the things that I believe in and the things that I want to be, or in the case of this song, the things that I don't want to be. So this song is called Maple Tree. I don't want to be that old maple tree that used to stand outside my window, strong on the outside, rotting from the inside. When it falls, no one will know. You can be a shady tree swaying in the summer breeze for 100 seasons, until all they see is a liability, and they start searching for the reasons to cut you down. I don't want to be the man, cell phone in his hand, waiting to make that fateful call, wringing those hands that never work the land, instead going straight to the saw. How many times could you have tried to stop the rot before it took root? But in your absence, you convince your conscience it's in the tree's best interest to cut it down. And I don't want to be the guy, chainsaw at his side, that came to the yard on that day to do the dirty work that others gladly shirked. Inconvenience is how he makes his pay. I want to be there to give the care that every living being needs. And if I fall flat, I pray the Lord that they call me out on my hypocrisy and cut me down. All right. Well, thank you very much. And thank you so much for joining us, everybody, there on the interwebs. Tonight we have a very special guest, one of my longtime friends in music, and we've done so many shows together, spent so much time at shitty bars and open mics. So I'm really happy to have him here to talk about his music and his whole deal. So please help me welcome Joe Walla, everybody. Yeah, grab that mic there, Joe. How you doing today, Joe?
Good, Brian.
What you drinking on there?
Oh, it's some Sol,
Sol?
straight from Mexico. So
wow.
I've got an import. It made it past the quarantine.
There you go. That's very good, man. I'm glad you made it past the quarantine to come down to Brian's basement. So we're just going to ask you some questions about music and how you got started and some other things about it. But first, let's have a song maybe.
All right.
So what song are you going to play for us?
So the first song I'm going to play here is from my first serious band back in high school, the Fireside Chats. We wrote and recorded a full-length record my senior year of high school, and to this day, maybe it's the thing that I'm proudest of working on with a group, because there's 7 people, and we spent a lot. Yeah, 7 people, and we spent a lot of time, a lot of hours in my parents' basement, grinding it out. So I'm going to start us off with a song from that, and it's one of the first songs I ever wrote, so it's called Matter Over Mind.
All right, cool. We got Matter Over Mind by Joe Walla.
This song is fairly cynical, too. As you might guess from the title, people always tell you when you're growing up that you just have to take a better attitude and you can fix things. This song is about being maybe a little bit more empathetic, that our surroundings have a little bit more to do with things. This ocean screams of contempt. It screams of contempt, betraying every blissful thought of beauty. Blissful thoughts of you, to think that your surroundings don't change you is a lie. It is a lie. This graveyard begs of regret. It begs of regret, betraying every blissful thought of beauty. Blissful thoughts of you, to think that your mind can change your surroundings. That's just too easy to believe. It is a lie. The tales that I tell often change my attitude. Is a chameleon dictating point of view. These gruesome skies shade my evil lullabies. If I could just keep warm, I'd be happy. I would be happy. This gruesome grave extinguishes my faith. If I could just reach daylight, I'd survive. Oh, I'd survive.
Hell yeah, Joe. All right, man. Yeah, you gotta grab that. Get that mic.
Gonna need this bad boy.
Yeah, and you gotta get that over there. Oh, there you go. Wow, high-tech shit. So, anyway, man, I just want to start off today asking some questions about your, just your start and how you got into music. So, when did you start playing music and singing, and I guess writing, or was it the same time or different times, or what?
So when I was in 6th grade or so, I started taking bass lessons. A lot of people in my family played music. My older brother played guitar. My sister played drums. And my older sister played bass as well. So we had kind of the family band. So I picked up a bass, and I wanted to play music with some of my friends. I had a couple friends who were guitar players. We kind of formed a middle school band.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was called Yesterday's Heroes.
Okay.
Yeah, Yesterday's Heroes.
Nice.
It was a real good time. We played the talent show.
Oh, shit.
I think I got like 3 girls to like me because of it. It was pretty cool.
That never happened to me, but I play the ukulele. So that's what happens when you do that. Cool. So were you writing when you started playing bass, or when did writing come into play here?
Yeah, so I wrote the lyrics for our band songs for a while, but it wasn't until that band broke up and I formed the Fireside Chats when I started playing guitar. Because honestly, I wasn't good enough to sing and play bass. Some people can do it.
It's really, really hard. It's really hard.
I have bass face, I refer to it as, but it's impossible to play bass and not do this with your lips.
Oh, yeah?
So, it is what it is.
Kim done goofed, but we're gonna shut this off for today. You know what show you're watching anyway. Anyway, I'm sorry, Jesse. Get the
Okay.
bass face.
Yeah, so I got the bass face
Yeah.
going. So I had to get rid of the bass so I could sing. And a lot of the reasons I wanted to sing was because I was really into poetry. And I had kind of always loved writing and expressing myself with the written word. And I wanted to sing those words. And I couldn't do it playing the bass, so I had to learn how to play the same 7 chords on guitar that are still the only 7 I know how to play.
3 chords in the truth, man. That's a well-established pattern. So I want to hit on something you mentioned, the poetry aspect. So you have you've mentioned just now, but also before that you got into poetry in high school, which I can imagine was not the coolest thing to do at the time, and also
didn't get me in as many girls as playing the talent show.
Yeah, after going from bass to poetry, that's a big drop, but kind of an unexpected drop. But anyway, so what was it about poetry that got you interested in it, and kind of buck the trend of like a high schooler's normal experience with poetry, which is total repulsion?
Yeah, so a couple things. Early in my high school career, I remember getting really bored in English class, and I just would flip through the book, and we would be like reading some lame Thomas Paine excerpt or something, and I would read in the back. I would just be kind of like searching in the back of the book, and I remember one day I wasn't supposed to, but I was just in the back, and I was reading T.S. Eliot's The Hollow Man, and I just remember being incredibly moved by the phrasing of the words and the powerful nature of the ideas. And I just thought, man, if I could use words this way, I could say some of the things that I feel like need to be said, but people don't tend to listen to.
Yeah, that's super cool. I remember being in high school, and they give you those giant books for like literature class, and you end up like going through like a tiny fraction of it, and there's so much in between there. So I wonder if maybe there was more exposure to all the different things rather than maybe more people would be into it. But that's so that comes up in your music a lot, though. There's like a lot of spoken word parts, things like that, which personally I had not been exposed to until I started listening to your music. Does that come from a place, or does it just because your songwriting clearly has a lineage from poetry, it just creeped in, or where does that come from?
Yeah, so I think 2 places. My dad got me really into classical music when I was not classical music, classic rock when I was a kid, and we would listen to the Moody Blues sometimes.
I was wondering.
Yeah,
that's
so
where I was
the,
getting at.
the end of the one of Nights in White Satin where it does the yellow orb that rules the night. I just remember thinking, I got chills listening to that. And I was like, this is one of the coolest things. I want to do that.
It is cool, and I've just just recently, maybe like last summer, started listening to the Moody Blues, and I was like, this band is so far off my radar, and I don't know why, because I love it. And when I heard all the spoken word, my first thought was like, that's like Joe Walla. So I was wondering if maybe it came from the other way around.
I have one more too reason I started doing this.
Yeah.
My brother used to listen to some pretty cool, pretty obscure punk bands, and one of them was the Broadways, and they're like so not famous that I have a really hard time like Googling them and finding their music.
You showed me lyrics a couple weeks ago,
Yeah.
and I've been looking for it, and I couldn't find anything. I've been meaning to. We'll get back on that later. So the Broadway, Broadways.
So they did it a couple times in a few of their songs. One of these songs called "This Routine," and I just remember listening to it the same way, and it was the chills again. It's just because music moves people, right? Just on its own. People who play instrumental music, they get it. But when you add to that a level of emotional complexity and depth that poetry can do, and you hear it with a human voice that's not singing, I think it really tunes you in a little tighter than you otherwise would be when it feels sing-songy.
Yeah, I mean it is, and also it's kind of like I don't know what the word is. It's not jarring in a bad way, but it snaps you out of the kind of lull of whatever the melody is doing, and then it really kind of like locks you in. That's super cool. I've been trying to do that, but much like probably like playing the bass and singing, I can't play an instrument and do the spoken word part. So you're playing in this high school band, Fireside Chats, and you eventually go off to OU.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I guess is the thing. And that is where a lot of your songs come from, at least like that I'm familiar with. And you were doing you were kind of involved in the scene there. You were working security for an open mic. Is that what it was, or were you hosting it?
Yeah, I mean quasi security. Basically,
every open mic host is quasi security. But
I set the sound up for bands that would play at the bar. Is essentially what I did, and then I would take donations at the door so that they could buy beers.
Gotcha. Okay, so what was the scene like? I've been to Athens once or twice, and it seems like a place that could have a cool scene. What was the scene like back then, and what was your experience with that?
Yeah, I think in a lot of ways it's like a lot of other scenes if you know what to look for, in that there are places that are really committed and dedicated to art and music. I wish I could say that all of them were thriving, but the open mics, there was an open mic every night of the week if you wanted to go to in a 2-block radius, which was awesome and really cool, but it was mostly the same 7 or 8 people at each one.
Yeah, wow.
So it's not like everyone there is living in this Harlem Renaissance kind of era,
right,
but the spaces existed for you to explore that stuff, which was incredible.
And when you're in there, it kind of feels like it. If you can convince yourself for just a second, I'm a part of something big. Yeah. That's cool. Okay, so we'll leave it off there right now with open mic. I want to get back to open mic because that's a big part of what we do today and how we met, and I think that's kind of a thing that's both important to us. I'm just going to put words in your mouth.
For sure.
We love open mic, you and me.
It is a big commitment. My wife and I had to talk about my commitment to open mic as we were figuring out our relationship.
Right. So we'll. I want to talk about open mic a little more, but I think it's time for another song, maybe. So, what are you going to play for us next?
So the next song is probably the song of mine that other people actually know the words to, which is really cool. When I play it at almost every open mic, just because it gives me some semblance of confidence that people are actually listening. But this is a song I wrote my junior year of college. Basically, I was dating this really incredible girl. It was one of my sister's best friends, and we dated for a year and a half, and I have absolutely nothing bad to say about her. She was a really kind, wonderful girl. But I was madly in love with this other girl who was playing open mic scenes with me that was in love with other girls. So I spent a lot of time with her, and I remember feeling terrible, right? Because I knew that I had these feelings for this other girl that I wasn't dating, and my girlfriend was incredible. So the song really comes from a place of guilt and about feeling like I was doing terrible things and that I was a terrible person. But at its base, it's a song about raw emotion and not being able to really overcome and fight some of our kind of most base feelings. So it's called A Chance to Search for Diamonds.
All right, everybody. A Chance to Search by Diamonds. Joe Walla here on Brian's Basement. I'll be singing in the background.
And just a disclaimer to those of you out there on the internet, there are some words that are not bleeped in this episode. If you want a bleeped version of this, you're going to have to talk to Brian and the producers after the show. I tried to hide myself in something new, but the moon, it kept pulling me back. Yeah, it pulled me back to you. Throwing away dollars for a chance to search for diamonds. I find myself taking some chances these days as she lies still 100 miles away, and I am stuck a couple years ago. So I walk beside the ocean, staring at my own drunk reflection, 'cause it's all that I can do just to prove that this is true. can't go back and change the past, and all my dreams will just collapse. So I'll stay here with you, because it's all that I can do. I want it so bad, I want it so bad, I want it so bad, so fucking bad. I want it so bad, I want it so bad, I want it so bad, so fucking bad. Chasing unicorns in the back of my mind, looking through pages, searching for all the answers that I can't find. I can't escape from the walls I've built to conceal myself to you. We both know it's true. So I'll sit beside the ocean, staring at my own drunk reflection, 'cause it's all that I can do, just to prove that this is true. I can't go back and change the past, and all my dreams will just collapse. So I'll stay here with you, 'cause it's all that I can do. And hey, I just met you, but this is crazy. But here's my number, so call me maybe. It's hard to look right, that's your baby. But here's my number, so call me maybe. Oh, 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 fucking bad.
I've lost my phone, and we need it for the call-in section.
Is that it down there on top of the stereo?
Oh shit, there it is. Oh, Joe.
Found it.
All right, Joe. Well, dude, that was killer, man. It always is. Maybe like NPR will pick up the show because they love Carly Rae Jepsen over there. So maybe this is our end.
Fun fact too, I found this today. I was looking through some of my old lyrics and poetry, and I'd totally forgotten this had happened. But the like pre-chorus, and I'll sit beside the ocean staring at my own drunk reflection line, I totally stole from a poem I wrote when I was in 8th grade. I found my old poetry notebook, and it was in there. And I guess when I was writing the song, I was just like, I sometimes will write like music and chords, and then I'll like look for something that I've said before that I feel like is worth saying, and sometimes I'll piece from like multiple places. But yeah,
I do think it's completely fascinating that you can use things from 8th grade or high school, or even play songs that you wrote in high school, and they're still good. Whereas that would not be the case for me or most people. So let's talk about. I have this on the script as the philosophy of songwriting, and I don't. That's probably a little heavy-handed and deep. But I just kind of wanted to talk about, because open mic is something that we've been doing for a long time, and it also seems to be pretty much the peak of our musical careers, I think. So I often think a lot about like why is it important to keep doing open mics, and just I kind of wanted to get your thoughts about like why do we do this every week, for playing for pretty much the same 6 people for no money and paying the bar for beers and things. And so I just wanted to kind of just shoot the shit about like what is the purpose of all this.
Yeah. So, my line that I always use to kind of answer this is that open mic is my weekly therapy. Open mic is where I can go to express my feelings in a way that doesn't feel super vulnerable. I know getting on stage for some people might be vulnerable, but I've done it a lot of times. But it's a place where I can say things that are important to me, and I, at least for a little time, can pretend that other people are listening. And it really helps me, just the songwriting process too, and being able to share it helps me, name my emotions and kind of compartmentalize them and put them into a narrative that I can make sense of. And then when I can kind of share that out to other people, it really helps me understand myself better. And I don't want to sound entirely self-serving, but right, open mic is entirely for me. Right, I go there every week for me.
Well, I think that's like I think there are definitely like there are definitely shows you play, or I've done shows where you're thinking more about what the crowd expects. But there's also shows where you're like, okay, I have a little more leeway to kind of like express myself, depending on the venue, how loud it is, what kind of people are there. But open mic, I think you're right. Like open mic, as much as the bars don't want to admit it, like we're not there to entertain people. Like we're there to like practice our shit, and also just to kind of like you said, like at least for 15 minutes once a week, act like rock stars. And I think even the kind of just the act of being able to make believe for a little bit that you can actually project like what you think is like super helpful to me too, because I've thought the same thing. And we've been doing this for almost every week for a long time.
One other thing too, I want to pop in here. That's important about open mic too, is that you get to hear from other people and their ideas as well.
Yes, right. Network,
like I'm sitting here in Brian's basement here, but I know the words to almost every Brian Sauer song, and it's awesome. I mean, a truly incredible songwriter who has all of these great ideas, these great perspectives, and it's a place where we can kind of come together and talk about ideas and hear ideas, and really be supportive of each other in what is really an incredible community.
Yeah, and I said networking before you started, and I don't mean that in the way that like life hack on the internet, business major, like go network. I mean it like what you're saying, like it's a good way to because everybody there is doing the same thing you're doing, and everybody there has like taken some thought into like what they're producing out. And it's nice to know that like we are in a place where you'll meet people that have like a sense of like introspection, and
Totally.
and also and like I think so what do you think like the with this whole like global pandemic thing, like clearly like writing songs and singing songs is not essential employee type material. Like the world goes
I'm
on
here
without
violating the quarantine.
right. Well,
I deem it essential.
okay. Again, open mic people, yes, that is how we think, and that's why we like to hang out. But what? So obviously, life goes on without songs, and songs intrinsically have like you can't like, they don't have a lot of value. But clearly, I'm sitting here and I love your music, and you've said that you know my music, so like I think like. What do you think the value is? What is the value of a story or a song coming from just some random person at open mic?
I think earlier, just a backtrack for everyone who wasn't hanging out and shooting the breeze with Brian and I before, we were talking about the coronavirus response, and a lot of people are like talking about like, do we save the economy or save the people and their health and their well-being, like as if there's this like sort of weird dichotomy. But it's worth noting that there are lots of important things about life, and we derive meaning in life from meaningful interactions with other people. And that's what songs do. They allow us to dig deeper, to form connections that we might not otherwise be able to get to without the way that songs allow us to kind of cut deeper into our own selves and explore our own truth.
Yeah, totally. I wrote this weird hypothetical. I think I shared it with you before, so I hope you have a better answer, because I wrote it down and I didn't think about it anymore. So it's probably a very stupid question. But the hypothetical is, so right now, there are musicians can't work, and it's really kind of like a serious bad thing for a lot of people because they actually cannot do the thing they're supposed to do, and so but what do how is this gonna affect in the future, the music industry as a whole, and the types of musicians, because there's schmoes like us, and then there's real working musicians. So what is the ramification in a hypothetical world where there are no more gigs to play? What happens?
So, as a hobbyist, right, my kind of approach to this, I maybe make roughly $80 a year playing music, so big time bucks, and all of that is from shows that Brian gets for me. So, so for me, this has been incredible because I have more time, and I know that's true for a lot of people who don't have to commute to work or maybe can't do their job as it used to be anyway. I have more time. I wrote a new song yesterday, which is really cool. It allows me more time for introspection, which is really important in being able to write a song. So I think, on one hand, it might be really good for songwriters. But you're right. I mean, there's an entire industry that is being destroyed. People whose livelihood, they're going to have to find other ways. And things like Brian's Basement is a really good opportunity for people to still have those outlets. And, once they monetize and sell ads on this shit, the musicians can find a way to make money in a world, because the need for art doesn't disappear when we can't gather, right? If anything, it increases, right? We feel more isolated, so we need more emotion, more connection. We just don't have the space to do it. And a bunch of geeks who know computer software like Brian can build these platforms to allow us to do it. And when there's value, as I get my economics teacher's hat on, when there's value in things and when people seek something out, eventually we're going to find a way to make sure people get supported doing that.
Yeah, and I would just like to mention that this show, don't donate money to this show. And don't even like and subscribe it or any of that. Just if you want to tell a real person about it, that's fine. But right now there is a lot of, I don't know if you've been on there, but if you can go on Facebook and there's someone playing live constantly. It's really cool. And so if you see that, get on there and show some support, and share it with your friends, or if you have a couple bucks, throw it in the jar or whatever. I do think it's a cool opportunity to kind of explore this kind of digital concert thing. So yeah. So anyway, so with that, anything else you want to add? Anything else on your mind? I think we covered some pretty decent ground there.
I'm feeling ready to cry while making music. Honestly,
okay.
I feel like I'm in the space I need to be now.
All right, good. That sounds like we should have another song then. This is Joe's song 3 on the script we got down there. All so right. What are you gonna play for us, Joe?
Okay, so this third song is the hardest song I've ever had to write. I lost a couple of my best friends to suicide over the past 4 or 5 years here now, and it never got any easier as kind of time went on. And these were people who I loved, who I shared everything with, who knew everything about me. And it's really hard to process those emotions. I know it's not unique. Everyone kind of knows someone. But I wanted to write this song to kind of honor them, and to I play open mic every week, and to force myself to play it all the time, to honor them and to kind of keep them alive. So this song's called 2 Roses.
Everybody, this is 2 Roses by Joe Walla here on Brian's Basement.
though we sink through the sea, death will have no dominion. I've got 2 roses beside my bed. I'm always thinking about them before I rest my head. Both forged in sorrow and full of pain. They're the last reminders of the lives they came. We were supposed to grow and watch the time pass, watch our kids play on streets as we're holding their hand. But the seasons still turn and you aren't there, and empty a seat at the table. We were supposed to grow, we were supposed to grow, we were supposed to grow. You were the kindest, gentlest soul I know. But now we're all starving in your afterglow. And I hope that, oh God, I hope that everything was beautiful and nothing hurt. We were supposed to grow, watch the time pass, watch our kids playing on streets as we're holding their hand. But the season still turns and you aren't there, an empty seat at the table. We were supposed to grow, we were supposed to grow, we were supposed to grow. I've got 2 roses beside my bed. I wish I could go back to before they bloom. And I'd plant a garden so strong and true. There'd be no more roses for me and you.
All right, that was beautiful, man. Thank you.
Thanks.
I think that's a perfect example of the value of stories and songs from just getting out there. So thank you, man.
Yep.
All right. Well, now we're at everybody's favorite part of the show and the least good part of the show. We're here at the call-in section now. So if the rules are, if you have my number and I have your number, you can call in to my phone and I'll answer it, and you can ask a question or from me or Joe, or a comment or whatever you want to say here on Brian's Basement. And in the meantime, while we're waiting for some calls, Me and Joe are just gonna shoot the shit about gigs, which is me and my bass player Scott talk about all the time. Is the stupidest, meaningless conversation that you can have between two musicians. So let's talk about gigs, Joe.
Okay, let's do it.
I thought that this would be a great time to. We've got a caller. And honestly, this is a good one because this person has a in on the story we're talking about. Hello, you're on Brian's Basement.
Oh, hello.
Well, hey there.
Is it Stefan?
Yeah, it's Stefan Ivester, everybody. Check out episode 1 if you want to see Stefan. But he's calling the show. What do you got a question for me or Joe, Stefan?
Oh my God, do I have a question? I've been thinking about this all day, and I was gonna come up with some super shitpost question, but I actually have a legitimate question.
Oh wow, that's great, man. What is your legitimate question that you apparently have?
This one is for Joe. He was talking about not being so shy on stage, but I know for most musicians that wasn't always the case. Can you talk about the first time that you went on stage solo and how that was?
All right, thank you, Stefan. The question was he basically was talking about overcoming stage fright, and he wanted to know if Joe, if you could talk about the first time on stage. Great question, Stefan. Thank you.
Yeah, I had to search my memory banks real quick. So processing my first time performing in front of people on my own singing was in high school. We had this thing called the Evening of the Arts, and it was like legitimate artists, like people in the music department and people in the art department who made like real art. I was not part of that, but they allowed me to perform in the cafeteria as part of it. So I played a few songs, and it was an absolute train wreck. I remember I had practiced so many hours to play like these 3 songs. 2 that I wrote, and 1 dashboard confessional song.
There you go.
Yeah.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah, and I just remember losing all sense of confidence and not being able to make eye contact at all with
I never do
people.
that. Stefan actually tells me to do that all the time. I don't do it, but
yeah, but I think that I'm pretty selfish, I think, when it comes to my music. So, like, I don't see myself as an entertainer, and I think I inherently get less nervous about performing, as terrible as this is going to sound, because I don't really care if other people like it.
no, that once you learn that, that's a huge step. That was for me. It was just like, well, y'all going to have to deal with it.
Yeah, and on introspection makes me sound terrible.
Yeah, right, I know. Well, that's the whole thing about the whole, like, we're talking about, like, the value of, like, open mics, and like some of it is just so I can entertain my own narcissism. Like it's
yes,
like
totally.
yeah, like there is that. Like there's all like the beautiful things that we talked about and said, but also it's just like well, you know.
I want to think of myself as something more than like a guy who goes to work and comes home, and this really helps me change my own perception and identity of myself. That I have something else to do, that there's I play and write songs, and they're
Right.
important and mean something to me.
Exactly, and the people that know you at the open mics and stuff. So that's a great question, Stefan. So we'll
Thanks,
take
Stefan.
Yeah, thanks for a real question. We'll take some more. We're still waiting for more calls, but let's talk about Stefan a little bit because
Love that guy.
we wanted to talk about gigs, and we got a caller. That's pre-text call, so
I don't even know what that means.
yeah. Well, but anyway, let's talk about Stefan. So, Stefan, we're talking about gigs. And one of the questions I was going to ask was like, what is the worst gig? And I know for me that the worst gig I ever played was a gig that you were at too.
Yes.
And it was okay, hold on just a second. We got a new caller. Hanging people on by their seats. Oh no, it didn't. Oh no. We'll call back. Hold on. Boy, this calling section is really just well put together. It's just a really well put together calling section.
I love it. I wish we had the music back in the background.
Yeah, I know. Well, oh, here we go. Sometimes this. Hello. Hi.
Hey,
You're on.
that's my wife.
Yeah, you're
Hey.
on Brian's basement, Sarah. Do you have a question or comment for me or Joe?
Well, I have a comment for Joe.
Oh.
He's
Oh, boy.
pretty talented.
Oh,
Oh.
thanks, honey. Love you.
But I have a real question for both of you to answer.
Okay.
So, you both are very talented, and
Well.
you both have written a lot of super awesome songs, and you both are really good with the poetry and the lyrics. Can you guys talk about the favorite song that you've ever written?
Okay, good question, Sarah. Thank you. So the question was, with a lot of really nice compliments to me and Joe, it was, can you talk about the favorite song that you've written, and maybe just tell a brief story about that? I would say. So
Can I expand it too? Let's do this.
You
I'm gonna say my favorite song of mine that I've ever written, and then my favorite song that Brian has ever written.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well,
Just
I'll tell you what. You talk about the song that you wrote, and then you talk about the favorite song I ever wrote, and then
And then
we'll
we'll go
and
back
then
and
I'll
forth.
I'll talk about. Well, I'll just talk about that, and then we'll move on because I could talk about myself all night. It's the narcissism thing, I guess. So go ahead. Well,
Okay.
Joe, what's the favorite song you've ever written?
Okay,
of you?
so my favorite song that I've ever written is, expletive warning again. It's called "The Tortoise and the Hare Really Fucked Me,"
Oh yeah.
and it's in a super weird tuning, so I don't play it very often because I break a string 50% of the time. I try and go into the
True.
tuning, and it's like 8 minutes long, and it has tons of spoken word, which is like super cool for me.
It's a
but
gem, basically. Yeah.
It's really inconvenient to go into and out of when playing a gig, so I don't do it that often. But it's definitely the favorite song I've ever had that I've ever written, because I feel like not very many of my songs are peaceful or provide like a positive mantra. It's usually like me whining or complaining. But this song I feel like has like a positive. After I play it, I feel better about who I am and who I could be and how I can influence the world. So it's on my Reverb Nation page. If you want to go check it out, you can.
We'll
listen
get the
to
plugs later. We'll talk about that later.
And then my favorite song that Brian has ever written. I have many favorite Brian songs, but the one you will hear me screaming instead of Freebird at Brian Sauer and the Amazing Ways shows is a song called Morgan Road, and it is powerful. And maybe that is coming through, but when I listen to music, I want it to move me and to change me. I don't want to be, oh, that's a nice little melody. I want to rethink the way I view the world, and I want to feel sad. And Morgan Road, one of Brian's songs, is just an absolutely phenomenal song that really documents human emotion well.
All right, thanks, Joe. I had a feeling you were gonna say that song because I know you like it, and I don't really like talking about this song very much. It's a hard song for me to play, and it was a hard song for me to write. And I think that like everybody has like that variation of the song. I think the song that you just played, Joe, was a variation of that song. It's hard to play. But just to, I don't want to go too deep into Morgan Road, but the song it basically tells a story about just an episode of basically recklessness, and and redemption from that recklessness from from a dream, and the song is unfortunately autobiographical, and that the night after the events of the song went down, I had this dream about somebody that I had known not super well, but it came through so powerfully, and just about the waste of life and the recklessness and how the actions of one person on one night and one lapse of judgment can really affect the entire world for somebody and for all the people that know that person. And so it's a song that for me, when I wrote it, it changed the way that I view things. and I hope that it has an effect on people that it had on me. But yeah, it's a hard song to play, and I don't play it often at shows because it's a real downer. But if you want to, it's on My City Myself, so it's on the YouTube channel. Like and subscribe. But yeah, so that's about Morgan Road. All right, let's get another call in here, and let's get back to the story about Stefan's gig. So anyway, so Stefan's got this gig. Stefan's a big shot. He can play 4-hour gigs.
He even knows how to play beyond the fifth.
Yeah,
fret of
he
the
knows
guitar.
how to play
It's pretty
up
crazy.
above the fifth fret on his guitar. He can play this 4-hour gig. Well, he calls us, or I think he called you, maybe. I don't know. It was one of us, and he was just
Yeah.
like, "Yo, I can't do this gig. Can you and Brian do it, or can you and Joe do it?" And we're like, "Sure." And this this gig was at Mulligan's in Covington.
Mulligan's, yes. that is the
we
place.
gotta call in. This story is just leaving people on a thread. All right, hold on.
Stay tuned.
Hello, you're on Brian's Basement.
Oh, hey.
Hey, what's up, man? This is Alex, everybody.
Oh, hey, Alex.
Hey, I had a question for both.
Okay, let's go.
How do you know when you're done writing a song?
All right, thank you for the question, Alex. The question was, how do you know when you're done writing a song? And I think that this depends on the process of the writer. So for me, I approach songs from minimalism. I try to say as much as I can with as little as I can, and I also don't worry about if a song isn't long enough. I've talked to a lot of people that say like, "Oh, this song is fine, but oh man, I just really need to write a bridge for it," or "Oh, this song's only 1 minute and 50 seconds long. I need to just like write more to it." Not me. If it says what I want it to say, and it comes barfing out of my brain onto paper, and I think that like that is the briefest way that I can put chords to a poem and express an idea. That's how I know the song's done. And then after that, I will sometimes edit it if there's things that are inconsistent about it, or that if if I review them later and realize like that's not, I can tweak this word or I can substitute this in there. But I don't do a lot of that. I go for just get it done, brevity, conciseness.
Yeah, I think I'd echo that sentiment as well. Once I've said what I need to say, then I'm done with it.
For sometimes it's that simple. So all right, so we'll take one more call here, and we'll continue our story. So anyway, so Stefan's like, "Can you guys do this show for 4 hours?" So we're like, "Sure. We'll do 2 hours and 2 hours. That's a thing we can do, right?"
Split it up.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but I couldn't do 2 hours. It was a huge stretch for me, and so tell us what happened. Why don't you just take it from there?
Yeah, I mean, I feel terrible as you're the victim in this story. So
That's why I can't tell it myself.
yeah, so I can't remember who went first, but I went first.
I think you did.
Yeah, I think I played the
no,
first.
I actually don't know anymore.
We were gonna go 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour, 1 hour.
Yes. Yeah.
And I can't remember who started or whatever, but I had finished my first set, and and Brian's about to come up and start playing, and the bartender,
No, bar manager.
bar manager,
Yeah, he's sitting at the bar. Yeah.
refuses to turn off the jukebox because somebody came in and really wanted to hear this song. So our show, and it wasn't like one song.
So,
it was
yeah,
like
no.
4 or
So-
5 songs.
But also, it wasn't like I had already been playing.
That's right.
It
That's
was
right.
in
You
the
got turned
middle.
off
It was
for
in the middle of a set, and the guy was like, he comes stumbling up to me, and he's like, "Hey, this chick came in that I'm digging, and I think I got a chance, but she wants to hear this song on the jukebox. I'm gonna turn you off and put the jukebox on." And so I just stood there while this guy played like fucking AC/DC or I don't know what it Nazareth, Hair of the
I
Dog.
remembered what the song was.
Yeah, I don't know. And I just stood there, and it was the saddest moment. Like, it was just like, me, my dumb ass with a ukulele, standing there at Mulligan's Pub in Covington, just like, this is where I'm at. This is the This,
Got muted.
yeah. Anyway, but it was fun. I met some of Joe's friends that night, and it was it was whatever. It was par for the course.
It
Like,
didn't
yeah.
happen to me. So hard.
All right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and close the call-in section right now. Haven't gotten a call. Thank you for the questions. We had a much higher ratio of good questions to nonsense this time, which is a little. I want a little nonsense in there. I want a little bit.
I'll be on the phones next week.
Yeah. Yeah, you get on the phones. All right. So that was about gigs, and props. We got to do props.
Cool.
I have this. I don't know. This doesn't really add to anything. But Joe, do you know what this is?
A note with all of your.
It's a notebook.
Love for me.
Yes, it's all my things I write about you. I have one of these for all of my friends. No, this is a notebook. This is a notebook that I used for my when I hosted open mic, and it had and every year, every open mic, I dated it and I put the list of who was on it, and it goes from February 21st, 2017 to August 21st, 2018. So a year and a half. And the reason why I wanted this prop for Joe, we did props for 7, so we're gonna try to do this every week, but it probably won't happen. But anyway, the reason why I did this prop for Joe is you can turn in this book to any page. So like this is a notebook, and it's this thick, it's this much of it. Any page you pick. Oh, yep, there's Joe. What about this one? Yep, Joe's on this page. Joe is on literally every single page in here, I think. Look, there's Joe in that 5 slot on, do you remember September 12th, 2017? You played the 5 slot before Sweaty Toilets. Jesus.
Oh,
and
is this at Millions? I remember.
Oh, it is Millions.
I remember playing after the Sweaty Toilets in Millions
Jesus,
once.
yeah. Stefan's on there in the 7th slot. So
That's
there
a
you go.
fact to follow.
Anyway, that's props. All right. I don't know what I'm doing. All right. Okay, Joe. We are at an hour, so we gotta wrap this thing up.
Yeah.
You've got one more song. I've got a song.
Perfect.
And I've got just a few questions about one more thing. Right. But so just so all of you out there, if you want to cash out, that's what's coming up next. So anyway, you got another song? What are you gonna play for us, Joe?
Okay, so I wrote a new song yesterday.
Hey!
And to Alex's question, it's probably not done yet, but I really wanted to come on here and say I'd written a new song.
And what's the song? What's it called?
So this song is called Storm Chasers. I'm trying not to be as on the head with the title, but basically I'm tired of everyone on the internet becoming an expert in coronavirus, and then a couple weeks later they'll have something new to tell me all about how informed they are about. So this is called Storm Chasers.
Joe Walla, Storm Chasers, Brian's Basement.
On your high horses all at once. They manufacture outrage and now I'm the dunce. They retweet in circles so that you know they're connected to all of the media's flows. While the storms gathered, they were silent before, they were silent before. And after the wreckage, they'll be silent once more, they'll be silent once more. These storm chasers thrive on the bodies from war. And after they clear, they won't help to build for more. They won't push us to go forward. All are shepherds, but they all sound the same. Repeating their master's newfound refrain. I don't trust a warrior that's been here a week. 'Cause after the spotlight moves on, they'll be back to sleep. They'll be back to sleep. And after the storm, they were silent before. And after the wreckage, they'll be silent once more. And I don't know why they don't want more. These storm chasers thrive on the bodies from war.
New Joe Walla song, everybody. Storm Chasers debuted here on Brian's Basement. Wow, man. All right, well, we got to wrap this thing up. We're coming right up to an hour. I feel like we could probably talk about open mics and gigs and the trials and tribulations of being a semi-pro musician, but you're almost done with your soul, and we've gone an hour here, so I really just got a couple more questions for you. Well, they're not really so much questions, but, well, I guess. So I just wanted to point out that you are a teacher, right?
I am.
Yeah,
I
that's
educate the youth,
yeah,
corrupt
it's a
their
very-
minds.
Yeah, it's a very noble and difficult profession. One of the things you do at your school is that I think is really cool is you host an open mic at your high school.
Yeah.
And you have all. Why don't you tell me about it? Like, how's it work?
Wednesday after school is Anderson open mic. Anyone can come if they want to read their short stories or if they want to play music or if they want to read poetry. And it's just a supportive space where artists can kind of hang out because it's what I do. It's what I love to do with my free time. And I wanted to make sure that kids had an opportunity to kind of hone their craft, to feel like they had a comfortable space where they could make art and have other people listen and care about it. And this is cool, not to self-promote, but even during quarantine, I reached out through email to a few of the kids, and we're actually gonna do virtual Anderson Open Mic Club on Friday.
Hell yeah!
Friday through Google Meet. So we're trying to use the technologies that
Very
you nerds
cool.
are creating to to facilitate
yeah.
art. So that's cool.
That's awesome. And man, I just whenever I think about that, I was like, man, I wish I had something like that when I was in high school. I think that would have like really progressed things along for me. It took me a really long time to get out there. What kinds of things are the kids writing about? Like what kinds of topics or?
Yeah, so, some of it's really heavy. There's this kid that I love his music. I mean, I really do. I have a CD in my car. I listen to it. It's like
No shit.
I go back and forth between Brian Sauer CDs and this and this kid's CDs, and like I sing along. Like I am moved by it. Like I mean like I think people like to discount kids, particularly like 15, 16-year-olds. Like
certainly
they're young,
do.
but like
yeah, I do.
But you shouldn't. Like, dude, so many of these kids are better, smarter, and more worthy of respect than most of the adults I meet.
No
so,
kidding.
like, I don't know. Is it all that different from Millions Open Mic? Not really. I mean, they're less confident, and there's a lot more covers
never
because they don't
been-
have as many songs.
I've
yet,
never
but-
been to Anderson Open Mic, but there have been some I think the worst open mic was the one that I hosted. That one, there was all kinds of people there. Anyway, so back to the what do you have anything else like you wanna say on Brian's Basement or plugs? Well, we gotta do plugs.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, plugs. So where can we? First of all, where can viewers out there find your music and listen to it?
So the best place is Reverb Nation, which is a website that was popular when I was in high school, and I don't think anyone knows about it anymore, but it still has all of my music on it. So reverbnation.com, Joe Walla. You got all the songs I've ever written, except the one you just heard on Brian's Basement, are recorded and up there. So
Okay, and if you search Joe Walla, the first is a band called Walla.
Oh.
which
Very
I'm
nice.
interested in, but have not explored. So anyway, you can hear Joe Walla on Reverb Nation, and we're doing a show together, right? Did we ever settle that?
I think you said something.
Did we pick a date?
I
Anyway.
didn't. You said one of the dates, maybe.
There might not be any more dates. So,
We'll see.
but anyway, we'll be playing a show probably at Wonder Bar sometime this year. So, yeah, man. Thanks for coming to Brian's basement.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
man.
would hug you if it weren't for
I
the
know. How about an
quarantine
air
orders.
high five? Ka-cha! That's pretty good, man. All right, Joe Walla, everybody.
everyone.
Give a big round of applause. Yeah, that's great. All right. Hey, everybody out there, I want to thank everybody for tuning in for another episode of Brian's Basement. This is kind of just a fun thing to do. Like I said, go online and find a real musician and give them a tip. Maybe it'd probably make their day. And you can also it's a great time to buy merch. I bought 2 T-shirts today that are gonna be totally sick. If there's gigs anymore, I'll wear them at those gigs. But anyway, so yeah, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for all your comments and your call-ins. We're gonna try to do this next week. So yeah, I'm gonna close this with a song. This is a song about. Originally, it was about casting off nostalgia, which is kind of a useless emotion. But it has some lines in it that I thought were relevant to quarantine. There's one of the lines is, "All this time I'm sitting in my room, wondering if everyone feels this way too," which I thought was useful for quarantine. And it's looking back at good times, and then it ends with, "Everything will turn out fine." Yeah, and we'll be drinking on this gas station wine. So this is gas station wine. Thursday night is coming fast, I'm alone in my mind, thinking of them olden days from another time. I'm dreaming of the old life, the life I had to leave behind. And I'm dreaming about that gas station wine. Nothing else to do tonight, let's go to the riverside. Fresh scent of the falling rain, the darkness of the night. My lungs are filled with cold air, but I feel warm inside. 'Cause I've been drinking on that gas station wine. And all this time I'm sitting in my room, wondering if everyone feels this way too. And I wonder if there'll ever be a time in our lives when we can feel alive again and happy all the time again. Now it's been about a couple of years, but it seems like yesterday. You said you weren't a drinker, but I showed you the way. I brought you a bottle, you didn't know it at the time, but you were drinking on that gas station wine. And I still see you standing in my room, looking at me the way that you used to. And I wonder if there'll ever be a time in our lives when we can feel alive again and happy all the time again. So throw your glasses in the air and raise them spirits high. Here's to the future, close nostalgic eyes. Tomorrow will turn out, everything will work out fine. And we'll be drinking on that gas station wine. Yes, we'll be drinking on that gas station wine. Yes, we'll be drinking on that gas station wine. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll be back next week. Have a safe and productive week.